Welcome to Ease in Real Life, the podcast where we embrace joy, authenticity, and peace through all of life's ups and downs. I'm your host, Kijana, and each week we'll explore practical tools, real stories, and meaningful conversations to help you create a life that feels lighter and more aligned. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Ease in Real Life. Today we have a special guest, Sarah Rogers. We are going to be talking about ease in space. So I'm going to let us all get to it, and I'll be here after with an astrology update. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Ease in Real Life. Today, we are talking all about ease in space, and I am here today with my friend, Sarah Rogers. Sarah, thank you so much for being here.
Hey, guys. Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
I'm so glad that you're here. Sarah and I actually met through our work in the cannabis industry.
Yep.
You kind of, in cannabis primarily, you've done sales.
I've done marketing and sales.
Okay.
Yeah.
And before that, you kind of had another life in the beauty industry.
I've had a couple lives, I feel like. But the longest one was in luxury beauty. Again, sales, marketing, education, for the better half of my professional kind of corporate career. And then I've branched off and I've had a cafe. I've had
I didn't even know that.
Interior design business. I've just really kind of any way to help, right?
Yeah.
And to give back. So that's creatively.
Yeah. Now, okay, obviously we're going to talk a lot about the interior design today.
Yep.
I'm very excited about it. One question that I just wanted to start with kind of out of the gate is like, do you think you've always had the eye for interior design? Is that something that's always been?
Yes.
No, you can't.
That's right. It's, I was thinking about that, and it's funny. For myself, I can recall back to when I was probably, I've seen photos of myself at an early age, right? 5, 6, where my outfits are completely coordinated, right? The socks to the dress to the, everything is kind of in point. Where I recently ran across photographs that I had taken of my bedroom when I was probably 13, and everything is just pristine, all in the shades of pastel, which was the sign of the times, and the frame posters and the netting over the bed. And I think I've just always known how things should be put together to create a space.
That's amazing. I love that you've had so many, and I love that you, brought fashion into it and space, because it's all relevant.
Totally.
It all works together, and I love that it's just been something you've been building since a very young
age. Yeah.
When do you feel like it became more of work for you? Because I love how you were like, anything to help. But when did that shift happen for you, especially with interior design, where it went from something that you were like really passionate about and just kind of doing, and a natural interior designer, because literally walked into my apartment today and immediately started just a consultation, and I loved it. I was like, and this, so it was amazing. Thank you for that.
And I think I've always done that, right? So I've always had friends, and as soon as I walked in, it's my mind automatically sees what the space could be, or knowing the person, like how it doesn't necessarily reflect them. And so kind of walking and being like, oh my God, this would be amazing if we just did that simple trick. And then that just kind of became something.
Yeah.
Right? So when it became work, even as work, where I was able to get some customers who trusted in my style and my eye and really created space for them, to me, that's still not work.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, I needed to make a paycheck and security from it, but there's something about anything you love.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
And a passion or a labor of love. And for me, design is just that. It's love. So.
Do you have a more like a design philosophy?
No. A design philosophy. I think if it were to get outside of your comfort zone, I think when it comes to, I'm a maximalist. So there's nothing, you've been to my home, anybody who knows me. But I can also design to a minimalist. It's really, I don't think that there's any no's when it comes down to design and what it takes. It's just a matter of being able to step back and see what the person in the space really needs.
Yeah. So what is your like process then when you're designing for someone else? What's kind of, walk us through it.
What does that look like?
Yeah.
You know, you and I, we started this conversation a couple weeks ago, and it got me to thinking about how I interact with people. The first thing is getting to know the person, understanding their space. I think getting into somebody's space to begin with during the pandemic is when I really started leaning into design. And we were doing everything remotely.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm having these virtual consultations with people in their space where they're walking me around with their cameras and they're saying, what would you do here? And we're trying to kind of create it.
Yeah.
But in order to do that, you still have to know what they are. What have they purchased? What's their lifestyle?
Yeah.
What's on their walls? What's not on their walls?
Yeah.
Are they renting? Are they owning? What's their financial capacity? What, you know, it's kind of almost... it's the commercialism of design can be overwhelming because they're fed with these images of, and these influencers who create, it costs hundreds, you know, and thousands of dollars to create these spaces. And they open up the Pottery Barn catalogs and say, oh, if I bought the sofa and this, then I can create that space. And what they are missing is everything else. It's the floor, it's the rug, it's the ceiling, it's the light fixtures, it's the attention to detail and the overarching design. And then all of a sudden when you start to break down how to recreate that or the financial commitment to it, it's $25,000. So I think part of the discovery is having that conversation with somebody. What does it look like? What is your pie in the sky dream? What's a budget? And then what's a reality? What's a timeline? Is this something that you want to do yourself, or is this something that you would like me to participate in? And I don't know if a lot of designers have that flexibility when they're working with people. But I found that that's how you build the relationship.
I love that. I love that. And I love it too because it's so curated to the individual that you're working with. And I feel like there's a level of history of a person that you use to kind of tell their story through design, which I think is incredible. And, you know, can you speak to just kind of how that helps to create ease and comfort and peace in a space?
Yes. Tapping into joy.
Yeah.
Right? So I've been thinking a lot about the word ease since you have planted it in my head. I think your home should be that place. It's that sanctuary. And with ease, you know, we've discussed it as well. It doesn't necessarily mean it's easy. It takes work to create ease, but it's the overarching feeling that you're trying to hand somebody and show them how to create it. So I tap into a couple things. One is tactile, right? How you feel in the space. How does it smell? What is the lighting like? What is the personal element that tells their story? It's incredible how many people I actually walk into their homes and there's nothing on the walls. It's whether they're renting or they own, they haven't collected art. They haven't known where to start. It can be overwhelming. It can be daunting. But even in today's technical age, I think something that we've steered away from, right? So I came up in the world when there was no phones or computers, for that matter, that were that we were using. And so we were taking pictures. And guess what? We had photo albums everywhere, right? And friends would come over and we flip through photo albums, or my parents would, pull up the screen and we watch a slideshow, right? And that's how people engaged in sharing stories. Now we pull out our phones and we do this.
Yeah.
We used to print photos out, right? And so one of the first things I do to tell people stories is I ask them to send me memories. I ask them to share, like when we're looking to create space in their home, like vacation memories, child memories.
And then you look at the pictures and you pull out textures and colors, and
then we print them up and we put them on the walls so that when their friends and family come over, they have a conversation and they have a story to share with them. And that triggers joy for them when they walk into the space, because it's a memory of something that took them to a place where they were happy. Right? And it's such an easy lift.
That is that's just some photos.
It's really simple, but we're in this digital age where people don't take the time. Necessarily.
100%.
And that was one of the things. Even walking in here, I was like, "Oh, good, you have a photo, a beautiful memory of your friend, and yourself in a destination." And it's a story.
100%.
And bringing color back in, to people's scale that they're comfortable with.
100%. Now we're just going to take a quick pause because I got to see what the hell is doing.
What are you up to?
Okay, please don't go back in there, Chris.
I'm just ripping down some curtains.
Oh my goodness. Okay, perfect. How are you feeling?
Fine. Do you need me to slow down in talking?
No, you're doing great. You're doing really, really great. I'm just gonna. Okay, perfect. Okay. You know what I am gonna get though? Because
do you have it on the streamline?
I need one. I do. I have the long one, actually. Yep.
Oh,
there we go. There it is. Okay. I do want to just introduce this to the audience and let them know this is a tool that we use in this home. And we will be using it for the remainder of this interview because it's become quite necessary. So,
he wants to be involved.
He wants to be a paid actor, from what I can tell. But okay, so going back to kind of the conversation that we were having before, and just how kind of simple it is to, find some photos and use those to invoke memories and invoke joy in a space. What are some other kind of accessible, quick things that people can do to uplift their space, bring ease to a space, that aren't super expensive or like we were even talking about the sticky wallpaper and things
peel
like
and
that.
stick wallpaper. Oh, I love peel and stick wallpaper. You can do so much. It is a renter's dream. It is also an indecisive person's dream, because I think when it comes to design, right, many people whom I've had conversations with, it's not that they don't want to do something, that they spend too much time leaning into making sure it's the perfect decision. Right?
I
want to make sure that I get it right the first time. I don't know if I've ever gotten anything right the first time. And then there's also just that trust in yourself, right? And it's totally okay to just put it up. And if it doesn't work, you can take it down. So a couple extra, like easy, I want to change, I want to elevate pictures we talked about, art on wall. So I often talk about where people find art, and I'd like to challenge the community at large to actually invest in local artists, go to flea markets, go to thrift stores, go to do estate sales. That's one of my favorite places to find really beautiful, very cost-effective pieces of beautiful framed artwork that you can put on your walls, a collage and mirage of myriad of different types of art can fill the soul. But again, not leaning in too heavy into, is it right? Does it go together? Is this going to work? Peel and stick wallpaper is an easy fix.
Yeah.
Right. So that can change any type of texture, any pattern, draw light. I often will go into a space and look for dark spaces and try and figure out easy ambient lighting. You can buy just a simple uplight, a little lamp in the corner, but ambient light can emotionally change how you feel when you walk into a space.
Yeah. What about if someone feels like disconnected or really overwhelmed in their space? Are there, because you mentioned light, and are there other kind of tools that can help someone feel more grounded? Or
from when you say it's overwhelmed, is that more from a clutter?
Maybe.
Okay.
Maybe. Not this one, but maybe.
Yeah.
You know, because I think that's something that people need to be reminded of too. Like, a lot of, at least I've always heard this joke in my community, but people always joke that, like, if your couch touches the wall, you're poor. Okay. I always think of it as, like, the, like, feng shui thing, too, where it's, like, you're trying to create pathways of air and energy to move through and things like that. And we are in this age of things. And, like, I'm a Taurus, so I love things. You know what I mean?
Same.
I love to have things. But I find that when I have too many things in a space, I will get kind of overwhelmed in that space, and I will eventually just start releasing, you know.
Okay.
But
it's an emotional thing,
right?
For a lot of people.
For sure.
I'm a maximalist, as I mentioned. So for me, design is impactful, and everywhere I look, I get a piece of it, but it's not necessarily clutter.
I was just going to say that because yes, you're a maximalist, but your house is not cluttered. To be clear,
you
know, it's beautiful and intentional, and every piece kind of means something there. And so,
But one of my first projects, and really what got me leaning even deeper into helping to transform space for people, was this older woman who I did some work with, and she was essentially a hoarder. And she had brought me in to help create a healthier space for herself. And I started in a back office where you could barely you couldn't see the floor, and there was no room to navigate through it. Yet she is this amazing woman who had kept decades of church histories and records and community. And I knew it was so important for her to have space. And so I think the hardest thing is kind of even sitting down and working with somebody to rid, right? But then once you're able to create organization and find out, it's almost the game that I do with my neighbors' kids, right? When they were little, I'd go over and say, okay, where do I live, right? Do I live in the garbage? Do I live in the closet? Or do I live to donate? And we would always, everything has a home. And I would almost do that. I did that same project with this woman and actually another client. And by transforming the space, not only did I see her mental health shift, but it brightened everybody in her family, right? Because it saw the impact on her. That to me, I know for myself when it comes to a lot, like that's where it's almost a telltale sign for me. Even if my laundry is too piled up, like right now at home, I have to go home and fold laundry and I'm thinking of it. But that itself is a sign that I need to clear.
Gotcha.
Right? So when my home is disorganized, it's a direct reflection of myself. And we know in society that that's how people self-nurture, right? More is more, but why is more? So sometimes it's about sifting and helping people, in my experience, through design and in their space. Sometimes you got to clear to create that breathability. Right?
Do you have any, this is kind of a random question, but like any tactics or tricks that you use to help make it easier to let things go?
Letting go is hard. Right? I think creating a safe space for people and letting them know it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
There's something about permission to release and specifically using those words with people, right? It's okay. You have permission to let go of this.
Yeah.
But then also prioritizing what is really important for them to keep and why they need to keep that, and then creating a space where it will live.
Yeah.
Right?
So that what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, regardless if it's a piece of paper or if it's a keepsake,
Yeah.
there's a reason that we're going to keep it, so let's find a home for it.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't serve you, right? And if it's just here to fill space, let's find something else that could fill that.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Thank you for sharing that. I think that's something that can be useful for a lot of people to hear and to just continue to bring into their awareness, you know, because to your point, I think so many layers of emotion exist within our space, and the things that we bring in are layered into that as well. And so understanding that they are, you know, carrying something for us in some way, shape, or form, I think is really an important reminder to have. So I'm grateful for that, for myself too, because so I think that, you know, even I sometimes have to take a step back and just make sure I'm still aligned with the things in my space. You know, sometimes you have something for so long and it's like, it feels weird to think about it not being there.
Yeah.
But then you're like, but why is it there? I've never used it. Or I do that with clothes all the time where I'll like go through and I'm like, why am I holding on to this? I haven't worn this in 4 years.
Totally.
You know?
And I do it with keepsakes, right? Or things from previous jobs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Oh, I totally
And
agree.
all of a sudden I'm going to my office and there's just stuff. There's so much stuff and it's nothing that I will ever use.
Yep.
Maybe something that I had kept because of I call it the you never know box, right? You never know if I'm going to need it. You never know, right? I don't need it.
Yeah.
I don't need it.
Like I haven't needed it.
I don't need it. I haven't used it. I haven't needed it.
Yeah.
And so when I catch myself identifying something like that in my home and I recognize that I don't need it, I don't allow myself to let it stay there anymore.
Good for you.
As soon as I acknowledge that it's on my radar, then I'm like, you don't need to be here.
Yeah.
And I just clear it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I've started being better with clothes where I'll keep a big bag that I just put my donates in.
Smart.
Right? So I'm not necessarily going every week.
Yeah.
But I'm putting them away and I'm putting them somewhere that I know this is eventually going to be donated, but it's out of my sight.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. That's
because I really don't need 300 t-shirts.
Right. The t-shirts are the worst. And they pile up so quick.
Yeah.
And like we work in an industry where it's like everywhere you go, in one event you could be getting 3-4 t-shirts.
Yes.
I've had to just tell people like, no, I don't want them.
Same.
I love you. I love your brand. I'm so happy for you. But
I will never wear it.
I don't want your t-shirt.
Thank you.
I just can't. I can't afford it. I don't have the space for it. I really don't. So yeah.
But again, and that's also kind of speaks to, you had asked me about pricing and how can we elevate our space on budgets.
Yeah.
I think that the one thing, a big miss for when it comes into designing space or actually investing in your space, if you really wanted to elevate it, there's a lot of disposable furniture out there. And I think that that's where people waste their money.
Yeah.
There's opportunities where there's certain things that you need to invest in because it's those pieces that you want. We call it generational furniture, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Generational furniture, though, today has a price.
Yeah.
And it's not cheap.
Yeah.
Where you can get like disposable furniture that will last you a couple years. Right. But it's a quick hit and it looks nice and it works well enough.
Yep.
But there's something like I always tell people invest in generational pieces for anything that has drawers, constant usage, things that need weight and stability to it. desk dressers.
That's good advice.
Tables.
Yeah.
Because the thing is that can be passed down.
Yeah.
Those will last. That's why you find a lot of these still 1950s, 1960s, MCM, mid-century modern pieces from oak that are still in just pristine because they were quality made. They're generational furniture.
Yeah.
So there's areas that I say invest, and there's other areas that you can skimp on.
Yeah. That's great to know. That's great to know. I love that. And especially as someone who is a renter but my space is important to me. And I'm always looking for ways to elevate it, but balancing that line of like, I don't necessarily want to invest in someone else's space in a way that I'm not going to be able to benefit forever. Yeah. But I also don't want to like not have that because of that. You know what I mean? So I love the kind of finding the balance between, and I think, you know, with furniture, especially when you were saying generational piece, I was really thinking like it's, you know, even my coffee table, which they can't see, but like that is something that I probably got on Wayfair, and like that is good for maybe another year. You know what I mean?
Couple years, yeah.
But it's one of those things, and even that too. It's like they have this nice design and they have a lot of beauty and aesthetic to them, but you just know that they're not gonna last. And
maybe in 30 years they won't be around, but they serve you now.
Yeah, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And but we're in a different time. We're in a different generation. You know, back, you know, decades ago, it was I'm going to buy this set and I'm going to pass it on to my daughter, right? Or we're going to buy them this so that they can pass it on to their children. It's just generational. We're different now. Yeah. I love upcycling. Mm-hmm. You know, I love refinishing pieces if you have the bandwidth to do it. Yeah. But again, thrift stores, estate sales, I mean, gorgeous, gorgeous pieces that would cost hundreds of thousands, you know, even thousands of dollars. You can buy for pennies.
That's really great to know too.
So from rugs, lamps. Yep. And it's not you don't have to have a thrift store vibe in your house just because you're buying upcycled pieces, right? It's the same thing with clothing. Yep. I'm a big fan of consignment, like upcycled good clothing. Yeah. Instead of buying disposable clothing. Yeah. And
I love it too because you're creating sustainability in that way. You know what I mean? It's a great thing to do for our environment too. And to be upcycling that way. So I love that. Okay, let me just check out my little questions here. Oh, I love this one. What is and you said something earlier where you were like, you know, people will buy the Pottery Barn cutout magazine, everything, and then they get it and they put it together and it doesn't feel like that. Yeah. And I feel like, what is something about, you know, creating space or creating ease in space, peace in space that you're like, I wish everybody understood this?
From the illusion, like of what the staged design. I mean, I think one of the greatest examples. He's like, I'm just. Okay. I think one of the greatest examples of misrepresentation in what people see in the catalog versus what they get in real life would come to bedding. So
say more, please.
Bedding, every single imagery of bedding and bed sets that you see, these guys have been steamed. It has been pressed. Those sheets sit a certain way. The bed linen sits a certain way. The Pericol is a stiff linen, right? And if it's not pressed, it wrinkles. Yet when you buy it, they see the thread count, they think it's luxurious. It doesn't present that way as soon as you get it home, right? So there's this illusion, right, that people create. And so often what I'll do in a design scenario when I'm working with a new-time customer, after I've come into their space, we've done a walkthrough, I've had conversations about what they're looking for, their likes, their desires, I'll actually have them send me a series of photographs that inspire them, right? And so either from the web, from a magazine, from a book, whatever it is, And then we sit down and I really have them break down what it is about the photo that they like, right? Because a lot of the time they like the overall energy of it, right? The aesthetic of it. But then I'll say, okay, is it the coffee table? Mm-hmm. Is it this rug? Mm-hmm. Is it the way the light is coming into the room? Mm-hmm. Is it the greenery in the back?
I see.
Or is it this, right? Mm-hmm. And so once you start to break down,
you can kind of see what motivates them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then you're able to bring that into a space a little easier, so it doesn't have to be the whole Pottery Barn experience, mm-hmm. but you can create the elements for them that are more obtainable.
Yeah.
And those little wins, when you create that in a space for people, mm-hmm. it's a game changer.
Yeah. I love that. Now, can you talk a little bit, because you're a gardener.
I'm ready. I am already sourcing like every catalog, ready for my spring bulbs.
Yeah. It's that time.
It is. We're getting there. Yeah. I'm always very impatient, though. I want to start actually my own podcast called The Impatient Gardener because the ground could not unfreeze fast enough. Yeah. Nothing can happen soon enough. Yeah. Once I get the bulbs in, ready. I literally am staring at them, just waiting for them to grow on a daily basis. Yeah.
I remember when I came over your house, we talked about how kind of like having fresh flowers in the house. Finally, okay. I waited for him to do it. Like, please, I'm tired of it. Okay.
that is my personal self-love.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't matter at what stage I was financially. I may not even have 2 nickels to rub together.
Yep.
Right? But I know for my mental health, I have always found a way to, even if it's just going to the grocery store and buying $5 worth of fresh flowers, there's something when you come into your home and to have that, that fills
100%.
And I recently heard somebody say, somebody was questioning, well, why do you put so much effort into flowers and they die? Like, I don't like flowers, they die. And they said, but you're not getting the message for what the flower's purpose is. Mm-hmm. And the purpose of the flower is to bring you that joy for a moment.
Right.
Only so that you can anticipate when it will come back again.
Yeah. Oh,
right?
So true.
So flowers aren't meant to be around. They're meant to be enjoyed so that it brings you that quick joy. And then they leave.
Yeah.
And that's what they do in nature.
Yeah.
Right? That's why I'm always waiting for the next one, because they come up, they share their beauty, and then they go away and the next one happens. Mm-hmm. So that is the impact. Again, just tapping in. And I think it's also, I find that some people have a hard time being able to identify what makes them happy. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I've had those conversations with people where I've said, well, what brings you joy?
Yeah.
And it's difficult.
Yeah.
Do you find that?
I don't know if I've had, okay. Yes. I think that, especially when it comes to space.
Yeah.
I grew up in a home where my mom, she's Italian, and a friend of mine, were actually just joking the other day, because she's like, I keep my house clean, and she said my mom's name, that level clean, and I was like, I'm glad to know we're all traumatized. I'm doing it too, but it's the trauma. And so when I got my own space, and truly my own, because living on your own is really different than living with a roommate or, your family or your partner. When you live on your own, the space, the energy within it, it's yours, start to finish. And when I left my mom's space for a lot of reasons, because there was a lot of negative energy there, I always, it was so beautiful. Her home is so beautiful, aesthetically gorgeous and clean. You could eat off the floor, clean.
Okay.
And she has a cat too that looks just like him, actually. But the energy there was really, really negative. And so it was really hard for me to be there. And when I got my own space, so much of what I knew was grounded in that. And so, like, for example, so my mom is the type of person who would say, oh, I don't bother with flowers because they die.
Yeah.
But I love flowers.
Yeah.
Like, I love flowers. I think they're so pretty. And so even as you were just saying that, I'm the same way. Like, I could have $3-4 left, and I'm like, I'm just going to go buy, and I'll just, like, throw it together myself. I don't even care. It might not even look that good, but it's just enough life for me. And so it's been this journey of figuring out, so like, even as you were saying, you're like, people don't know what they like in a space. I'm like, oh, I kind of get that.
Yeah.
Because it took me a long time to figure out, what do I actually like? What actually makes me feel at ease in a space? Versus what was I conditioned to believe would make me feel ease in a space.
Right.
And to a certain extent, like, the cleanliness does help, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
It took me about 6 to 8 months of living on my own to be able to say, you can go to bed with dishes in the sink. That's okay. You can wash them when you wake up.
You gave yourself permission.
I gave myself permission.
Yes.
So, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's but I actually don't love going to bed with dishes in the sink, but I like my morning routine of coming out and washing my couple little dishes that I have.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's like this relationship that I'm building with myself and figuring out what I do, what does find, like, how I do find joy in a space, you know? So as you were saying that, like, I really was like thinking about it, I'm like, I resonate with that deeply, of like not being able to figure out, because, you know, and it took me a really long time to realize this, but so much of what I knew to be what makes us a good space, or a space feel good, were just the things that I was conditioned to what made my mom feel good in a space, you know?
That's happy.
So so I think I find that in myself, but I'm learning, you know what I mean? And that's why I even appreciate you coming in and being like, do this, this, and this, because also you validated so many things that I was like thinking, and you were like, yeah, that's going to make it feel, and I was like, okay, yeah, I'm going to try it. I'm excited.
And I feel like everybody needs a space.
Yeah.
That they can make their own.
I really agree. And I'm glad you said that, because part of the reason why this conversation was so important for me to have with, you know, this podcast is so much about my journey and our journeys, but because space was something that I felt imprisoned in for a long time, and then when I got my own space, it has been this process of making it my space, and going back to what I was saying earlier about the energy, like, I'm always so proud when people come in and they're like, I love your space, because I'm like, this is my energy, you know? I know that I created that from top to bottom, you know, from start. Chris has a little bit to do with it now, but you know, and so like this conversation was really important to me, because having a space where you feel safe is so important, and where you can go and find joy and be recharged and see yourself reflected back to you, I think is so important, and yet something that can easily be forgotten because we live in such a time where it's like, go, 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 do. And sometimes, and especially in space, it's like, just be. And that's what I'm learning. And that's why I was like, I want to share this with other people and help inspire others to like, remember, like, you can find ease just in your space. Like, maybe it's just going home and doing some laundry, or maybe it is, you know, going and printing some pictures and just hanging them up for you to see. And maybe it is putting flowers right next to your bedstand so that when you wake up in the morning, you know, you get to see something beautiful. Whatever it is, like, there's so many ways to...
And don't get overwhelmed with the overarching, like, the size of it, the mammoothness, like, oh, my whole house I need to do. Start with one space, start with one corner, start with one photo, right? The one thing, as soon as you are about ready to move out of a home, the easiest way to disconnect emotionally is to remove art off of the wall. The first thing when you move into a home to make it yours is to add something on, right? And I think what you had said about a safe space, right? Coming in, waking up, having that deep breath, right? Setting the tone with intent. It's so important. It's so important today. And if people are having challenges, trying to figure out how to figure it out for their own home space. Shit, call me.
I love it. Yes,
Call me.
I love it.
I got you.
You do.
I got you.
And so, like, you do have a legit interior design business.
I do.
You are in business, and I know you got your other stuff going on, but this is like,
I take a couple side projects for some good people.
yeah, I love that. I love that. So I'll definitely have Sarah's information so that if anybody wants to get in touch with her, they'll know where to find her. But before we wrap up, I want to just ask you one final question, which is, what is just kind of some advice that you would give to your younger self on finding ease?
Be forgiving. Be forgiving to yourself. Right?
Yeah.
We are so hard on ourselves.
Yeah.
We are so hard on ourselves.
Yeah.
Forgive. It's okay. It's okay not to be everybody's expectation.
Yep.
Right?
Absolutely. Thank you for saying that. I actually really needed to hear that too. So thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate this
Thank
so much.
you.
I appreciate you being here so much.
You.
Thank you for making the time. She's
Such a
made
joy.
so much time for me.
Such a
She
joy.
invited me into
Yes,
her
me too.
beautiful home, and I got to see your space, which I feel like I didn't even talk about enough during this interview. Your space it's so incredible. I really will stop talking after this, but like your unique art pieces that you have, and just like the way that it flows together in your wallpaper, and you tell so many different stories in one. The way you honor your dogs and that story and all of it, it's really so amazing and so beautiful. And it was so funny because my friend Meg was the one who suggested that I have this conversation with Sarah. And Meg never said to me, Sarah's an interior designer. She just said, I've been to Sarah's house and it's absolutely gorgeous. I think she's someone that you should talk to. And then we were sitting there and talking, and you were like, and then I started my interior design business. And I was like, could it be more perfect? So
the universe brings us together, right?
Every time.
And I'm so blessed to have you in mind. So thank you.
No need for me to start crying here, but thank you so much, Sarah. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. All right. Bye, guys.
Hello, everyone. I hope you enjoyed that interview with Sarah and I. Yeah, it was a great time for me. I recorded that interview like probably a little bit over a month ago. So I'm recording this astrology update for you guys on Friday morning, full disclosure and full transparency. Normally I really like to get these up. I try to put them up. I upload them like a couple days in advance because I don't want to be scrambling on Friday morning to get these out. But this week I was like called to rest a lot. And I took that call every time. I have certainly like been experiencing more like stress than I would ever want to, for sure. But just these last couple of weeks have been kind of a lot. And I think too, with like us being in this moment of eclipses, it just kind of I got that vibe of like, I need rest. And I did the last 2 days. I really have been getting a lot of rest, which has been beautiful and great. And I'm super grateful. And I definitely feel aligned and in flow. But I'm here with a little astrology update for you. And first of all, Happy New Year. It is the astrological New Year. Aries season has begun. It's the spring equinox. It was technically, yesterday, but I'm celebrating today, and I'm sure most people are. We're just like in this time of the equinox, spring is here, spring has sprung, and yay for that. And this one is a little bit interesting. They all are, they always are. But this one for sure, because we've got, the sun at 1 degrees Aries today. We've got Venus at 3 degrees Aries and Mercury at 7 degrees Aries. So all kind of in a conjunction with each other. And Mercury and Venus are retrograde. Venus has been retrograde. Mercury has been retrograde for a little bit since last week, at least. But yeah, like here we are with these retrogrades right at the top of the new year. And I find that to be very interesting and timely and beautiful in a lot of ways because, Venus, like, of course, Venus is about beauty and love and relationships, but she's also rules money. She rules our sensuality and, all of these parts of us that feed into our inner and outer beauty. And in retrograde and in Aries, where she doesn't like to be, she's in her detriment in Aries, right? Um, and so she's retrograde there. And I talked about this a couple weeks ago, but Venus in Aries is tough for her because she's not a me kind of girl. She is really for the collective. Know that Venus really is for the collective. But what I love about her being in Aries and being in retrograde there is like she forces us to remember, like, you got to take care of you first. And when you take care of you, you are doing that for the betterment of everybody else. You are contributing to society by being your best self. Paired with a Mercury retrograde, this sorry, I knew he was coming, but I wasn't sure how he was coming, and I wasn't expecting that. I hope you have a plan, sir. I really do, because that's a lot. But that Venus and Mercury retrograde, like those being there together, it's really forcing us to reflect on, who we are and what the things that we love and how we contribute and add love into the world. This is what is heavy on our minds as we step into this Aries season. And I think that's a beautiful place to be. That's a beautiful place to be for the start of Aries season. And there's still a lot of Pisces energy kind of at play right now. Of course, we've still got Saturn and Pisces. We have Neptune and Pisces. Neptune just had its cazimi a couple days ago. I want to say Wednesday. Neptune had its cazimi. And I love that because it's like, our imaginations got their refresh, their annual like refresh from the sun. And now we're stepping into this new year with our imaginations refreshed, and we can be creative and excited about everything that is coming, all the doors that are opening, all the opportunities that are coming to us in this coming year. Which is yay, why not, right? We've still got Mars in Cancer. We've got the Moon in Sagittarius, which is fun and exciting. We're getting to what did we have last week? A full moon. Okay, yeah. So we're getting to a new cycle, and we're finishing this cycle out. And this is the coming months are certainly going to have a lot for us, astrologically speaking and energetically speaking. Summer is coming, spring is here, summer's coming. This is the time of, we plant seeds, we watch them grow. So yeah, it'll be fun to see all the things that are growing and expanding this year. I'm excited for all of us, honestly. I know that there's a lot of greatness to come. I did want to say before I go, though, that, Chiron is still there in Aries, where he's been for quite some time, too. And, Chiron is the wounded healer, but I like to think of him as the initiator because Chiron is always there to initiate us onto our spiritual path. So, this we'll see what we're being initiated into this year. And I'm sure that'll be coming up as well. So, yeah, I will say too before I go, thank you for listening. Thank you for getting to this point in the show. I appreciate you. And also, I do have, if you go to KijanRose.com or easeirl.com and you just click on the Ease in Real Life tag on the top, there's a little spot there where like you could write me a note if you want to write something about like an experience that you've had that you feel is relevant to what we've been talking about, or if you have something that you want to share, an episode idea, or if you just wanted to drop me a little line, a little hello, or anything like that. You can do that there. I hope that you will, because I love chatting with you. And hopefully, as time goes on, I envision that getting more built out into like a blog vibe. You guys know I do love to write. So yeah, that's it. That's all I've got for you guys this weekend. I hope that you have a great one. I hope that Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I don't know if anybody's going to be at NECAN this weekend. I'll be there. So if you are going to be there, hit me up. Or just have a great weekend. Have a great week ahead. And I'll see you soon. Thank you for being here. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Ease in Real Life. If you enjoyed today's conversation, don't forget to subscribe. Please leave a review or share it with a friend who might need a little more ease in their life. Remember, creating ease is a choice we make every day, even in the hard moments. I'll chat with you next time, and until then, take care of yourself and each other.